Thanks to the support as a channel member, Jack Watson. Well, this is not going the way it was supposed to go. We're a quarter of a way through the season. We are rock bottom of the Premier League and we've lost 7 league games in a row. If you can't beat them, join them. Hello and welcome to part 4 of my FM24 beta save with Brighton. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we give in and we're going to do this inverted wingback, inverted fullback thing that every other team, every AI team seems to be doing. And I'm starting to suspect the only option for success in Football Manager might be to do it. I mean, unless I'm just bad at the game. I can't believe it. I refuse to accept it. Since you were last with me, as mentioned in the intro, we've continued to lose game after game after game in the Premier League. If we filter this to just show Premier League, the Premier League is miserable. What you do notice is it's starting to become slightly less miserable as time goes on. We've gone from conceding 5 goals at home to Everton to only conceding 1 away at Newcastle, 1 at home against Liverpool. So we are getting better, and XG-wise, we're kind of competing in these games. But the problem we've got is we've managed to tighten up the defence with a switch to a 4-3-3, as you can see, but it's also stopped us from scoring. So when we were doing the 4-2-3-1, loads of goals in every game at both ends. Now the games are much tighter, but we've only scored 1 in 3. That being said, if you look at what's going on in the Europa League, we're having a lovely old time in Europe. Can we play in Europe every week? We've won 5-1, 5-2 and a 5-1, both systems. We scored 5 goals against Rangers with the 4-3-3, which is our defensive system. So clearly we are capable of doing all right, unless the Premier League is just massively overpowered in Football Manager, and that could never be a thing. Surely that's not a thing. You can see I've also played a couple of friendlies against local whipping boys because I'm pulling every trick in the book out to try and sort out our dynamics problem, and we are getting there. You can see that we've got our club atmosphere up to very good. Managerial support has gone from all the way down here to average. Team cohesion, I still don't really get why team cohesion isn't good, because it's largely last season's Brighton squad. But we don't have the big gang of people ganging up on me anymore because I'm slowly but surely winning them over. And I'm winning them over by eliminating them. So Igor is out of the club. He's going to Torino in January. He's training with the youth team. He was a troublemaker and he's done and he's gone. There's the other lad as well who was a troublemaker. Simon Adingra wasn't happy that he wasn't in the Europa League squad, so he's been binned off to the youth team. Facundo Buonanotte, same thing, binned off to the youth team because he had a grumpy on. I can't quite bring myself to do it with Enciso yet. That being said, I'm not actually playing him either. He's made 1 substitute appearance all season, so I imagine for the good of dynamics, I probably could bin him off as well. Adam Webster has lost trust with me, so he's been dropped, and I'll sell him in January as well if he doesn't like me. And I'm just basically trying to eliminate all of the people who aren't part of Team Kev. If we look at the club vision, despite our horrible league position, rock bottom, we're generally doing okay. The board are pleased with my management of the team. I think that will change very quickly, very soon, if we do keep losing. But fingers crossed, we stop losing sometime soon. We have got a little bit of spensies for January, but January is a long time away. And at the moment, I'm not at all confident of getting there. So fingers crossed we can win another Europa League game against Panathinaikos. And then we have a hugely important must-win Premier League game against Brentford. And we're going to be doing it with a new look 4-3-3 that does finally use an inverted wing back and an inverted fullback. I'd like to think this is entirely me deciding to do this because it seems tactically right to do. It's also been led towards me by the fact that Estupinian is injured. He's going to be missing the next couple of weeks. So him not really suiting it means that now we've got play. I mean, Veltman is ideal for that role. Walker-Peters on the left-hand side certainly should be capable of doing the inverted wing-back role. So it seems like a time to try it. And if it works, then Estupinian's going to either have to learn to do it or be added to that list of players we're going to look to ship out in January, when we do need to have a little bit of a clear out of some of the players who just aren't buying into the Kev way of doing things. But this is Panathinaikos in the Europa League, and we've got Steele in goal, a back four of Walker, Peters, Dunk, Schurz and Veltman. Berg at the base of the midfield, Gross and Lallana ahead of him. Do have the slight problem of now we're playing central midfielders. We don't really have any. Hence, Gross and Lallana being our central midfield partnership. That's something that needs addressing in January for sure. Fatty on the left, March on the right, and Ferguson up front. Evan Ferguson has only scored 1 goal all season. The main motivation behind doing a Brighton beta save was how much I fell in love with Evan Ferguson during the Spurs world record stream thing that we did a month or so back, because he was incredible. A year younger, immediately as a 17-year-old, was outstanding. I assumed he would have got a boost for FM24. Either I'm using him wrong, Dynamics is really wrecking us, or he's somehow been nerfed despite the fact he's had a good start to the season in real life. I have to believe it's probably the first one. Why would they nerf Evan Ferguson? But he's a year older, has a year more experience under his belt, and it's not going so well for him at the moment. But maybe today's the day. He is kind of rotating in and out of the team with Danny Welbeck as well, which probably doesn't do anybody's confidence any good, knowing that you're considered roughly on the level of Danny Welbeck. It's not quite the Erling Haaland level we were hoping to get Evan Ferguson to over the course of this couple of season beta save, but there's still time. Unless I get fired. They're not going to fire me, right? Hopefully, maybe. I hope they don't. Please don't fire me. I don't really have a backup. But I guess if I get fired, because people are going to ask, so let's address it for the comment section. If I get fired, I think I'll probably just look for another job in this world rather than starting an entirely new save. I think that would be quite an interesting beta story. And as if on cue, we can see the goal. I mean, I think the only thing keeping the board from spinning me off now is how good we've been in Europe. If we now lose a European game as well, that Brentford match becomes arguably the most important match not in our history, not in my Football Manager 2024 history. It'll be the most important game I've played so far, because I would probably sack me if after this, if we lose this and then go and lose to Brentford as well. I think I sack me if I'm the Brighton board. Now maybe they're more patient than I am, but I look at this Brighton squad and don't really understand how we're bottom of the league and have lost 7 games in a row. So, we've equalised. Equalising is good. That's the other advantage of having Veltman in at fullback. He's another aerial threat for the set pieces. So we've got the 3 big guys coming forward from the back. Gross now with the in-swinger to the far post, looking for, I think it was Schurz that he's aimed that towards. But unfortunately, can't find him. And it remains 1-1 as we approach half-time. But once again, if you look at the XG, this is what I've been talking about. I don't want to entirely blame Danny Welbeck and Evan Ferguson. However, we are destroying teams on XG and just not scoring goals. And I don't know what I need to do to get these buffoons to put the ball in the back of the net. Adam Lallana is one of our top scorers. And that is a terrifying sentence that nobody should be saying in 2023. Right. I mean, this is a decent goal, though. All that being said, Ferguson tries to slot it through, actually kicks it straight into the defender, but it bobbles nicely for Lallana, and he tucks it away nice and tidy just on the stroke of half-time. We're 2-1 up, and I don't think a win here completely guarantees our progression to the knockout rounds. It gets us blooming closer, and I tell you what, that might just be enough to keep the board at bay. If we overperform in the Europa League, I guess it depends what their priority competition is, but if we overperform in the Europa League, we might get away with a little bit of underperformance in the Premier League. Did I say Europa League? I meant, you know what I mean. I kind of know what I mean. All that being said, I think if we get relegated, if I make it that far, if we get relegated, I'm done. There's no way they let me relegate a Brighton team that finished in a European spot last year. Even though we sold the core of the team, it's still a very, very talented squad. with a couple of obvious gaping holes, particularly central midfield and goalkeeper, don't feel like they've been adequately replaced either by Brighton in real life or me in game, despite having £80 million to spend. It all goes back to that not being able to sign the first 10 players I tried to sign back in the summer because players didn't want to join Brighton because our reputation was too low. So I guess that would be another advantage if we can have a decent European run. It might give us a reputation boost, a much needed reputation boost that would allow us to maybe sign some decent players. It's going to be a tough sell though for the bottom of the league in January when we're trying to bring people in. That's not going to make things any easier, is it? Danny Welbeck's coming on. The answer to all our problems. Lamptey can come on at left back as well. Another one who should be quite capable of playing that inverted wing back role over there. And now Veltman plays it into Gross. We really could use a winner here. Mitoma, who's still not really getting any game time, but he's come off the bench there and slotted it through to Danny Welbeck, who just provides us with another perfect example of our inability to score, even when we have really good opportunities to score. Why are we not scoring? Why is our centre-back taking this free kick? Because he can do that. He can hit one. He nearly did a football goal there. We've got a corner. Not yet a last opportunity, I would say, 82 minutes in, but goodness me, would it be handy to score from it. But the goalkeeper just clutches it out of the sky with ease, and it remains, look at just dropping it down at his feet. Not a care in the world, that man. And now Lamptey lumps it forward to Gross, and now João Pedro, who has been one of our bright points. I mean, Ansu Fati won Premier League Young Player of the Month in a Brighton team that is bottom of the league, so shows how well Fati's played as well. Those two are good, but they don't necessarily score enough goals. Mitoma on the left plays it into Lallana, who has had a good game today. Dances into the area, plays it back to Mitoma. Now Gilmour shoots from range, and we're going to start calling that the Brighton shot. It's where you're in a really good opportunity and then you just miss. We've had 13 shots today. Only 3 of them have been on target. Our XG is over 3. So a lot of those misses, we should at least be testing the goalkeeper, and we're just not. This is entirely of our own doing. And I've got to believe that's still a dynamics thing and not an FM24 is broken thing. I think if we can fix the dynamics, maybe they stop missing sitters. Mitoma, 90-something, 94 minutes on the clock. Referee, just give it. I really need the boost. Please give the goal, referee. Referee. I mean, it's not the league, but we will be 3 wins from 3 in the Europa League, which, like I say, might just be enough to convince the board that I do kind of know what I'm doing. We can do Europe. We just can't do the Premier League. Which is ridiculous. I don't want to hear any complaints about this formation. We're scoring hatfuls. Look, luck. That's literally the opposite of the truth. Sorry, you left a letter off your name. I left a letter off of my sentence. This formation seems to be encouraging a higher quality of passing. I will agree with that. Chapman has got it right by starting Schurz. Thomas is my boy. Right, let's go beat Brentford. We've just got to. What a crucial run of matches we've got now. Despite the fact we have been rubbish, we have had a tough start to the season. If we look at our fixtures in the Premier League, we've had Man United, Spurs, West Ham, Man City, Villa, Newcastle, Liverpool in our first 9 games. That is a tough bunch of fixtures. Our next 3 matches, Brentford, Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest. We've got to be out of the relegation zone by the time we play Arsenal, or I'm done, I think. And I've just had another big falling out with Enciso. He wasn't training well. I criticised him. He threw a wobbly, so he has now been chucked down into the youth team as well. Unfortunately, unlike in previous versions of FM, where just putting them in the youth team took the problem away, it seems like inexplicably a lot of our players remember he exists, despite the fact that it's been 2 days since I moved him into the youth team. So we've got some grumpy players on our hands again. Nobody mega grumpy. Club atmosphere is still okay. Well, it's still very good. Managerial support is still better than it has been. But yeah, I may have created another morale problem, which is probably not what I should be doing at this point. And it is largely the same team that's just done well in Europe, other than the fact that Welbeck comes back in for Ferguson, because frankly, neither of them are scoring. It doesn't really matter which one we play. Important football match. Oh my word, this is an important football match. Away from home against Brentford. Of course, Brentford still without Ivan Toney. His suspension is up in January, like it is in real life. I'd actually be quite interested in bringing him in. I tried to sign him in the summer, thinking if I could get him for like 25 million while he's got 6 months of suspension left, that would be a nice piece of business. No, just wasn't an option. Couldn't do it. Wouldn't agree terms. So the fact that I can't even bring in Ivan Toney from Brentford really indicates how hard incoming transfers have been with Brighton. So I think we're just going to have to make do with what we've got. Maybe stop upsetting our 5-star potential youngsters, our literal wonder kids getting upset because I'm not using them. Maybe we need to, use them. Maybe. Oh, for goodness sake. Less than a minute on the clock, and it wasn't even hard, was it? Not even difficult for them. They just dance through our defenders as if they're not there. I mean, what? What am I supposed to do? I don't know what's going wrong. I'm doing all of the things that I usually do in Football Manager, and none of them are working. I can't believe that it's just the dynamics thing. Just if this is all because I couldn't register a Europa League squad, please tone that down a little bit, Sports Interactive, because that's silly. But I guess I must be doing something wrong tactically. I haven't discovered what the new meta is yet. I'm trying different systems, and oftentimes that's part of the problem. We've used like 4 different tactics this season now. Sometimes you just have to pick one and go with it for 6 matches, even if it doesn't look like it's working, just because it takes 5 or 6 matches for them to get used to playing it. That's why our team cohesion isn't where it should be, despite the fact it's largely last season's squad, because of the fact I keep chopping and changing the tactic and messing around with the 11. And I think we just need to sit down, put my thinking cap on. Where is my thinking cap? Put my thinking cap on and decide what the best 11 is and what the best system is, and just commit to it until I'm sacked at this point. Got my initials on. What a cool guy. Don't like the blue one. Got a red one as well. Don't like caps. Oh, the bobble hat as well. I've discovered recently. Don't I suit a bobble hat? I've discovered recently that American sports teams put initials on their wares. And Kansas City, I'm a big Kansas City guy. MLS save with is there a Kansas City MLS team? Let's do an MLS save for the rest of the beta, because clearly this save isn't going to be with us for much longer. Oh, it's a guy called Kevin as well, done over by one of my own. How am I not already sacked? There is no way off the back of this match we're not called in for the talk with the board, because this is not okay at this point. There's no way. We're 5 points adrift of Sheffield United. There is not a chance this squad of players should be in the position that it's in. I've just ballsed it up massively. I actually think if I had my time again, I actually think we'd have been better off not signing anybody and just going with the squad that was here, because then I could have registered them all for the Europa League and we wouldn't have had the player mutiny that we've had. The problem was I tried to bring in 3 or 4 players who I felt were slight improvements on what we had, gave us a little bit more in areas where we needed a little bit more, but they're not. I mean, we could have done without Schurz and Berg and Walker Peters. None of them are like huge upgrades on what was already here. We should have just gone with what was here, or had the balls to sell some of the players to make room for the new signings. But because most of the Brighton squad is young players with loads of potential, there wasn't really any obvious ones to sell. I mean, I guess I could have got rid of the old guys, the likes of Welbeck, Lallana, Milner. So many things I could have done differently. Reflecting on my... That's what the beta's for, everybody. It's a learning exercise. And what I've learned is I am not good at managing Brighton. Imagine if I turn this around now and we actually, A, don't get sacked, B, win something. Here's a perfect example of a player I just didn't need to sign. This is his debut. It's the end of October. This is his debut. If I hadn't have signed him, and Ciso could have been in the Europa League squad. And obviously I didn't need to sign him because he's making his debut 10 games into the season. Oh dear. Oh dear me. I don't even want to look at the comment section after these last couple of episodes. I feel like some of you aren't going to be kind to me. Please let me know down in the comments how you're getting on in FM24. Are you finding it harder than 23? Because it's certainly different. Though it's the same game every year brigade bite me, because if it was the same game every year, I'd be top of the league. Because if I loaded up FM23 now and played 10 games with Brighton, I would be top of the league. Oh dear. Right, I suppose we're about to have the meeting. They might just straight up sack me. Forget the meeting. This is pathetic. We beat Manchester United on the first game of the season. How bad must they be? They've not even called me in for the meeting. Well, I mean, normally I would go away and play some matches off camera. But because I feel like we're in the end times and these matches against Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest are so crucial, I think we're just going to roll straight over and do them as the next episode. Because we've got to win them both. We could potentially win them both and still be in the relegation zone, knowing that we then have to go into Arsenal and Chelsea in our near future. We have got Fulham, Burnley, Luton. In fact, this next run of 10 games or so, from here, forget Brentford, but from here we've got Sheffield United, Forest, ignore Arsenal, but then Fulham, ignore Chelsea, Burnley, Luton, Palace, Wolves. There's a lot of winnable games in there. Please let me manage them, board. I would really like the opportunity to manage them. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.